How do you know it's recording?
Thank you all for coming today. When I was asked to come and speak today, I accepted immediately, but I didn't know what I was going to say. And for quite some time I struggled over exactly what it was I was going to say today until I realized that my struggle is part of the problem. We all know there's a problem. We all recognize there's a problem. We've run into difficulty when it comes to quantifying the problem and offering solutions. No one can look at what we're going through today with the opioid crisis and think that there's no problem here. But very few can articulate where we need to focus our energies to try to fix this problem. And even fewer can agree enough to move forward out of the failed stagnation that defines the status quo. I have personally witnessed as a state representative the deaths and imprisonment impact our children as well as the grandparents. We're losing a generation and harming both future and past generations in the process. We're locking away without hope those who most require hope and healing, while crowded prisons release violent people who should serve their full sentences. I opposed Granite Hammer when it came to the House floor exactly because it was funding the continued policies of arrest and imprisonment instead of hope and healing. I opposed it again when it came back looking for more money and was renamed Granite Shield. Despite the promises made that these programs would only target major drug suppliers in the region, the widespread net entangled addicts who needed treatment instead of a jail cell. This opioid epidemic is impacting families at every level. Court systems, jails, morgues, and schools are all impacted greatly by an epidemic, and we don't seem to have a solution or a common ground when it comes to fixing it. That being said, there are some areas where we can all agree. We cannot arrest ourselves out of this problem. People need help, not incarceration. Incarcerating those nonviolent people in need of intense help and therapy aggravates a problem. It doesn't help fix it. Prison is not a recovery center, and tax dollars spent on incarceration are tax dollars that cannot be directed towards recovery. To that end, I promise to you today to introduce legislation in 2020 that will redirect forfeited drug monies from law enforcement to drug treatment programs. This action will strike twofold at the heart of the problem by removing any hint of monetary incentive to try and arrest our way out of addiction, while directing the funds from those who facilitate addiction to those who fight it. Will this legislation solve everything? No, assuredly not. But it's a step forward as we try to learn and heal. Other nations have gone before us in this war and have had varying rates of success. Those of us trying to look to other countries as models still cannot agree on what exactly gave some countries success where others failed. But again, we should not fight over our differences when we can unite around the common truths. I, for example, cannot look at a country like Portugal and say that the solution to the epidemic is tied directly to the legalization of all drugs. Although that is the biggest data point cited for Portugal's success in fighting the epidemic there, I attribute the success more to the other changes that were made at the same time. Fighting the drug war was shifted from law enforcement to public health. Someone found to be using drugs isn't arrested, but they're required to undergo counseling and in some instances still pay a fine. If we can come to terms with our common ground, we can turn the pain into healing. When we accept that this is not a law enforcement issue but a health crisis, when we provide counseling and recovery instead of prison and punishment, when we reach out our hands to lift people up, not put them in handcuffs, then, working together as one compassionate population, we will bring forward hope to a bright future. Thank you.